Check this out right here. Deep ruts full of water in this ditch. And we have found a culvert in here. Let's send some water through. It's like peanut butter. Look at it go. Let's go see what's on the other side. Here's where it's coming out. Hey everyone, today we are in Buckinghorse, British Columbia, Canada. We're all the way up at the top, the northern part of the province, and we're here to do some camping. We just walked to the general store here. We noticed, looks like this area, the lawnmower must have got stuck in here. They made a lot of mud getting it out, and they blocked the culvert a little bit. That was fun to open. Water levels are dropping now, and right across the road is where we're camping. Buckinghorse River Provincial Campground. Most of the provincial campgrounds I would recommend not going to them because they're usually overflowing, and they'll recommend you to another one which is also overflowing, and they'll send you on a big wild goose chase all day long. But up north like this, not many people come here. Almost every site's available. We're right next to a, pretty sure this is an oil camp, because you look at the satellite images, there's oil wells everywhere. And this is the housing for the workers. Some of these buildings are hooked up. Other ones over here appear to be abandoned or used for parts. We just went to this general store over there. We bought some milk. You'll notice almost all of the woods surrounding this town is burnt to a crisp. Only the town here survived and managed to stop the flames. And this river over here also seemed to act as a boundary. I'll show you some of the burn scars as we walk into the campground. I don't know if this is private or not, but this road here goes to a camper down there. If that is one of the sites, it's one of the best sites. It's huge. We're gonna walk down here. We're about to pay for a second night. The first night we paid for, we parked at, but we didn't use the campsite. We actually hiked into the woods down the river a bit for a lot of privacy, set up a tent. They say around here most of the grizzlies are around during the spring, but they see some in the summer. We were out there sleeping in the bush last night and didn't have any encounters with any wildlife. We did see elk tracks though in the mud, but that's about it. See up there, everything's burnt to a crisp. They have pictures of it in the general store. These fires all swept through less than a year ago. But now there's zero smoke around. Pretty chilly up here for August. The campground has a long enough road that when you get to the sites, almost all of the traffic noise is muffled out, except some of the Jake breaks in the middle of the night when everything's super quiet. I'm not sure what this locking box is. I went down there, there's a padlock and it has hinges. The whole box lifts up. maybe an old previous pay station. There's parts of the campground, if you look at satellite images, appear to be abandoned. This area here doesn't look too bad. Not all of the trees are dead, but over here, look up at the mountain, everything's dead. You see the forest floor is coming back to life. Seedlings, grass. So that makes me think it was probably the spring or maybe last fall. The needles didn't even fall out of the dead trees yet. So the canopies of these trees weren't burning. It was just a really bad fire on the forest floor, enough to girdle all the trees. There's a large pull-in right here next to the river. The other side of the road has a flat area. I feel like this campground at one point was a lot bigger than it currently is. All right, you see where we're standing right here? You see that large loop? I think this campground used to be a lot bigger than it currently is, but because it's so far north, not too many people come here. I feel like they shrunk it down over the years because no one was using it. This might be a good hike for us to try out later. It says closed, but there's a trail, probably mostly animals. But would this go to a bunch of clearings like campsites? Attention campers. Warnings about bears. Doesn't say anything about bear bags, but that's what we used when we were camping, not at one of the sites deeper in the woods yesterday night or last night. So we paid for yesterday, and before today at noon, when it would expire, we're gonna pay again for the site. So over here, you just put a $20 bill in Canadian money in here. It's about, what would that be in American money? Minus 30% of 20, like 13 bucks. Generator hours. And they have this well over here. Unfortunately, someone broke it, and unfortunately, they haven't fixed it. Water must be boiled before consumption. It's probably just pulling it right out of the beaver pond. It's the same water table. Nice beaver pond right there. It's pretty empty. So the handle's broken, but it still works. Let's see. This is a really good well. Too bad it doesn't have a handle on it. It pumps water no matter which direction you're going in. Ooh, look at that. There's where that drain goes. It comes out right there. Right next to this beaver pond. And there's the envelopes. And here's some trails you could do around the area. Other campsites. Some of these campsites look nice. There's one there with a lake. There's ones with mountains with no trees. We want to camp in an area like that. We drove through an area like that a couple days ago. We do have one of those little Honda generators. You can barely hear it. We don't run it at night though. See all the campsites, super empty and abandoned. A lot of the fire pits have grass growing out of them. Looks like a lot of people just stop here for the night. Don't exactly camp. There's a bunch of outhouses, recycling, trash cans, bear proof. Look at that. That is a big anthill. So on the satellite maps, right behind this campsite is that circle. Almost lines up with this. But there's a hiking trail right here. Did they even graveled the entrance of it? I'm guessing that loops around. But this isn't the end of the campground. There's more of it up here where we're at. And almost all these sites have river access, except the ones on the left side of the road. The left side of the road, actually, that's the only one. It's the only one. We see they have this nice gravel trail. I think this is the other end of that circle. Look at this. Got a little stream. Ooh, what just ran? I think it was a vole. This water must be a little high, or someone with boots has just been walking across this. See, it's trickling. Nice trickling stream. Yep, this trail definitely is the other end of that circle. And there's a lot of burnt forest back there. This is really nice. Nice little stream. So that campsite does have a nice water source, and it's moving, so it shouldn't become a mosquito farm. This area does have a lot of mosquitoes, but whatever species of mosquitoes lives here, they're super easy to crush. Like, you have very high accuracy with it. Like, if you swat one, you get it 9 times out of 10. It's not like the mosquitoes at my house, where you usually can't get them. This is that same little creek. It comes into like this little pond, into a culvert, under the road. And this actually is right behind our campsite. I'll show you that in a moment. Our campsite is right on the end, which is nice because it has a lot of woods here. When you go to public campgrounds, a lot of the dead material for having campfires is already taken. But hopefully I can find some dead tree to cut up with our saw. Now, areas like this are definitely mosquito pools. There's no movement in here, but there's evidence of beavers. Lots of beaver evidence around here along the river. And you see there's a little bit of burnt came out here towards the road. I had to walk back down to the culvert again just to show you this. That's a beaver trail. They've been running up and down right here. So this is our campsite, the little road here to the right. And there's one other camper up here, and that's the end of the line. There's another series of outhouses and trash cans. And look over here. Lots more mosquito breeding areas. Very, very burnt as far as the eye can see. The forest floor is slowly coming back. Maybe we'll be able to find something in here that's dead enough to burn in the campfire. All right, so this is our campsite right here. We are at campsite number 14, and it's got really nice river access. So we got the table over here. You just put the end of your slip after you pay on there. It's got concrete underneath the picnic table, which is nice. It's got the fire pit. We're gonna throw some steaks on there. We gotta find some wood. And you see it's pretty picked dry. So we're gonna pitch a tent somewhere. Got a flat spot here, flat spot down there, flat spot up there, and I'll show you right behind the campsite right here. The trail splits. Where does it split? Somewhere the trail split. Maybe I'm not looking at the right part. Right here, this is that little stream. Is that little stream that I was showing up there. Comes down, and there's a larger river, the Bucking Horse River. It's a little bit muddy on the trail. All the campsites have their own little trail down to the water. Pretty nice. This is where we camped last night. We hiked down there about 20 minutes. It's a huge washout around a corner. Very muddy. It's actively, slowly sliding into the water, and all the water is dirty around it. Very muddy slope going down. But see, nice and green next to the river, but all the hills in the background everywhere. We're like a little oasis around this little town. Everything else is going to take quite a few years to not look like that, but it'll recover. There's a lot of areas. You'll see a healthy looking forest with a bunch of dead skeleton trees sticking out of the top from decades ago. I just walked all the way back down to this portion of the campsite because I'm taking these wedges, I'm taking a bunch of these branches, these larger branches I'm gonna drag back and cut them up. Just can't find anything good. But with my saw, I can cut these up, and you see they're already cracking, they're dried out pretty well. I don't have an axe, otherwise I'd take this thing with me. Let's roll that down. I'm sure another camper is gonna love that, whoever shows up with an axe. Wow. Now I can take this stuff. We're making some dust. We're also grading the road. It's a good amount of wood. We got a lot, and there's some good wood in there. I'll be able to cut that up really nicely to feed the fire. With my little saw here, it's actually pretty sharp. Right now I just spread this tent out. I don't think it's gonna be sunny, but it's getting dry, so this will dry out. This was covered in dew. If you also look, it's covered in ash everywhere because we camped out in one of the burn scars last night, and we're lucky it's not a lot worse. We set up right on the new grown grass, right in the dead forest. It was different. Never camped in an area like that. Today's a bit of a cleanup day before we go camping again. And this tent needs to be swept out. So I'm gonna go in here with these, take my boots off so I don't track more dirt in there. Okay, didn't get too much out of there, but better not to have it in there. Still smells pretty fresh in the middle, and there's even greenery on this piece. But it's okay. With all this other stuff, it'll still burn in there. We need these bigger things to make some coals, because there's not really much else I can grab. And I forgot, we got this piece. We had two of them. One of them fell off on the way back. We'll grab it. Because I gotta walk back out to the front. It's 12 o'clock, we gotta pay for another day. There it is. We'll grab that on our walk back. It's 11:30 now. And we're gonna go pay for another day. Here's that big log. See if I can grab anything else good on the way back. Hopefully more wedges and pieces of wood they left when they were cleaning up the area. Over here's a really good view of the burn scar. See, every campsite has its little trail, wall of rocks to walk over this. And that's another little stream, not the same one. River's right through there. Very, very burnt back there. I'm over here at the pay station right now. I ripped off the stub that you put at the campsite. I'm noticing they accept Canadian and USD. USD is worth 36% more. So good thing I have Canadian on me. I'm sure the other campers would have got to the loose parts, but a lot of times these splits, you can just rip huge slabs off that are already split into like firewood. This is also great for starting fires. Grab handfuls of that. Things like this even would be good firewood. I just made a lot of ants in there mad. We'll find something on the way back. We got a bit of a walk. Alright, I'm back. I know where to find some decent firewood, but we're gonna have to work for it. We're going on a little bit of a walk. So the very end of this road here turns into an abandoned logging road. And this abandoned logging road, we walked to the very end of it last night and camped out here. When we were putting a bear bag up into a tree, I got the line snagged, and it was our only rope. I couldn't pull it back down. I didn't want to cut the rope because then it would be too long, or it wouldn't be long enough to use. So I had a saw, cut the whole dead tree down, and now I'm gonna drag back quite a bit of that tree back to camp and burn it. I already did a lot of work cutting it down and also cutting some of it up to get it off of this trail. This trail here is probably mostly used by fishermen, I said in that video. Also probably a lot of animals, and there's evidence the firefighters were also using this trail. I'll show those markers in this video. Here it is. Not quite sure what these markings mean, if anyone can make anything of that. I'm assuming it had to do with the forest fires. And there's also a bunch of trees tagged that say danger, and I think those are ones they're supposed to cut them down for some reason, even though they're not really gonna fall on anything. See, everything out here is severely burnt. This is where we camped last night. See that flattened down spot? See, a bunch of these said danger on them, and they cut them down. You could see there was probably fire inside of the hollow trees. Fire will hide from the firefighters like that and start back up, hiding inside these trees. These trees are also covered in Sawyer beetles, which are pretty cool. Sawyer beetles look almost the same as the Asian longhorn beetle, but they're not. They're native. They only attack dying or dead trees, so they're beneficial to the forest to help rot these trees out, make them fall down so they can rot. They're beneficial. But over here is where we strung up our bear bag. This tree here had an arch. It was arched over, so we wanted to throw it up and over, hoist it up, got it stuck, cut the tree down. Then we had to find another tree, because the goal of a bear bag is you want it to be out on a limb that the bear can't walk on without breaking it. It's hard to do in this type of forest. Everything's evergreen, pretty much. So we eventually found another tree that was good enough. So let's see. Perfect. And any of this, I could very well just drag back a whole piece like this. But for now, I'm taking this and I'm taking that. Alrighty. Alright, we brought him back. That was pretty heavy. About a 20-minute walk back. But that's some good wood. It's been dry a while. Now I'm gonna slice it up into logs. Alright, let's get some good logs out of this. This was fairly easy to cut last night. I don't have to cut it all right now. I can cut it as we're burning it, because I don't even know if we're gonna need it all. There's a nice little piece. And if we need more, I'll drag the rest of that tree I showed you back. Ooh. Alright, that should fit nice. And these are small enough we don't have to split them. They'll burn nice. This is super dry. All right, my hands hurt now. Take a break. I can make more later. That's another 4 or 5 logs. Got some nice, decent pieces. Good enough fire to do some cooking. This stuff won't burn for very long. If we want to take off, it'll cool down fast. And we have the river right there to grab a bucket and douse it. All right, everyone, we're gonna cook these steaks. They were actually really, really cheap. So this is like a $4 steak if that was American money. Another one. Cook these cheap steaks. Thankfully, the fire is down inside this because we have a breeze picking up. We're gonna light that up now, get it going hot, cook some steaks. And look at that, the wind even blew our tent over there into the corner. It was on its side, it actually stood it back up. Moved a bit. Might have to stake it down. But we just set it up to clean. We're actually gonna sleep in the vehicle tonight. We're not gonna sleep in the tent after we've been cooking steaks here. We don't need the bear coming by. So down here in the bottom I put a cardboard box, but I also put a ball of super dry lichen and moss down in here. We're gonna light up. Oop, there we go. Super dry. Is that gonna catch up really nice? Looks like it. Here we go. Lots of kindling, some cardboard. Get that bigger stuff going soon. I'll time lapse it picking up as I'm gonna put this tarp away. It's now dried. All right, we got the tent put away, nice and clean for our next trip. Planning on going out with it tomorrow night. This is going real good. I'm gonna throw some more of this stuff on there, get some good coals. All right, everyone, let's cut a little bit more wood while we're waiting for that to die down. Amazingly, I counted this. This small tree grew really, really slow. This thing appears to be over 50 years old, but yet it's so tiny. Life is harsh this far north. Wow. Almost time to make those steaks. Almost down to just hot embers, and this is just for the campfire, so we can keep it going all day. All right, we're gonna do a quick oil change. Some people in their reviews of Honda's generators say sometimes they come with a funnel. This one did not. We have this little funnel. This is to put the oil back in, also to dump the oil into this. Hopefully the wind doesn't blow it over while I'm dumping the old oil out. We ran that thing for about an hour, got it nice and hot, got any debris up in the oil. It's been cooling now for 20 minutes. Good time to do the oil change. So you can buy any car oil, you don't have to buy anything special. We're gonna use up the rest of this one first. Put that in there, then we can keep running it. Simple oil change. I'll open it up real fast. I'll time lapse all of this going forward. All right, matter of fact, this oil, it didn't turn very dark, just a little brown, but it's been over 20 hours, so we don't even need the funnel. Just put it right on there. Pretty light. Just pick it up. The oil's not super hot now that it's been sitting 20 minutes. Ooh, get most of it out of there. Doesn't take very much oil. Now I'm gonna lift it up. Pour any residual in there. Nah, we got it all out by doing that, and I'll wipe up the little bit of spillage. Good to go. Nice clean oil now. And check it. This generator will not run if the oil's too high or too low. It's got technology in there. All right, dipstick. Should be good to go. And I'll just wipe up the little bit of spillage. I'll wipe out the funnel. And in fact, it didn't actually even use up all this, so we have a little bit left in there. You can pretty much eyeball it when it's about to come out of there. And if you put too little, too much, it just won't start. Let's see. Good to go. I'll put this back on in a minute. I gotta wipe it up. It's actually sprinkling. That's good. This area is pretty dry out. A lot of fire burns. This generator doesn't take much oil. Very little oil to actually run this. Got it back on, wiped it up. You can use a coin or you can use your finger there to do that. You choke it. This thing usually starts first pull no matter how cold it is with the choke. Sometimes you don't even need to use the choke. Make sure you put this on, and when you're traveling with it, turn it off. If you leave it off, it will actually choke itself out and it will turn off on you. It'll vacuum and it won't get fuel. It also has indicators. It'll tell you oil alert, meaning it's too low, too high. Overload alarm. It'll also shut itself down to it'll not damage itself. And output indicator will turn green. Eco throttle. That's a good and a bad thing. If you have something very low voltage, you don't need to have it running full throttle. Put it on. It'll run very slowly, be efficient on fuel. On high, it runs about 8 hours. On eco throttle, it depends what you have plugged into it. Even if it's off, it has normal high idle. If you plug something powerful or turn a microwave on, it's gonna actually still rev up. It's also got a circuit breaker there. Pretty cool. Nice little machine. They're pricey, but they're supposed to last 10 times longer than the conventional generator, and they're super quiet. We're gonna continue to travel with paper plates because we can just throw them in the fire. It's really easy when we're traveling and we don't have to clean them off. But we did buy some silverware at the dollar store, so we don't have to keep using plastic stuff. This we can just wipe it off with a wet wipe. But this one, brand new, we haven't used it before. What is that? A ball bearing in there? Look at that. It's a ball bearing in there. I can't seem to get it out. Hopefully we don't eat that. That's gonna be a rough one on your teeth, you know? Taking food off of that, going over that hump. Look at that. What the? But it's time to put the steaks on. Alrighty, time to put them on. So much yummy meat. This one's huge, actually. Look at that. That's a big one. Go wipe my hands off. Nice. Look at those big char lines. Alrighty, everyone. I think the steak's all ready. Let's get it off. This big one might want to be on there a little longer. I'm trying to flip it without dropping it through the grate. We'll leave that a little longer, the big one. These smaller ones I think are going to be nicely done. Yep, that's the side with the pepper. Nice. Little piece broke off. Good. Another one. All done. We'll let this one stay on here a little longer just because it's thicker and it was off to the edge. Whoop. Uh-oh. There we go. That's why it's a cheap steak. It's got a lot of fat. That's what's holding this stuff together. Ooh, it's really hot in there. Ooh. Good. We'll eat this while that cooks up for a little bit longer. Look at that. Looking nice. Nice and peppered. I like the fatty parts. Alright, the rest of it's off the grill, so I'm going to throw a few more chunks on there. Turn it back into a campfire very shortly. Nice. That'll catch up in a bit. It's all off the grill. That'll burn for a while, especially since those are still kind of wet in there. Doing some mowing around the campsite. That's kind of cool. All right, everyone. Now we're gonna go swimming since the sun came out, got a bit warmer. And that was a cool machine. That guy came up to me when he saw me filming, told him that thing's awesome. And he said, this thing will cut up to this. He was showing like a 6-inch diameter. He says, we're trying to open up this road back there so people can hike it, but the beavers built a dam across it, so we kind of want to leave the beavers alone. So, you know me, I'm gonna go check that out as soon as we're done swimming here, getting some of the smoke smell off. He also told me there's a fairly big bear in the area, but he's been around a while. He doesn't really bother anyone. Well, I'm glad we found out about that after we camped out there, so we wouldn't be thinking about that. He also said you might see a black wolf in the area. Its pack recently kicked it out because it's pretty old. It'll just be wandering around here by itself, but it's harmless. That's what the guy told me. So as soon as we're done swimming, I'm gonna go check things out. So we're gonna try to find now a fairly deep area where we can take a quick dip, get out, suds up, take another quick dip, because this is very, very cold. Fire died down nice. I just took everything off down to my shorts. Time to go swimming. I'm gonna bring the bear spray though, just in case. Have that right on the shore. Okay, this water feels like ice water. This is gonna be a challenge. I wanna find a deep spot that I can just jump in real fast. Brought the bear spray just in case. All right, this is behind the campsite. This water feels like it would start numbing my feet if I was in here for even a minute. My feet are already starting to hurt. This water is insanely cold. Last night, the temperature got down to about 40 degrees, 5 degrees Celsius. It's pretty cold for August. We're so far north. It's the furthest north I've ever been in my life. And we're gonna get even further north over the next week before we start heading back down. Want to see all those glaciers in southern Alaska. Over here maybe looks like a deeper spot. Definitely slower for a bath. And there's one other camper. The guy's got an RV right there. Over here is not exactly deeper, it's just slower. Very shallow river. The only deep spot is down the way a little bit. This water is so icy. It took me a while to want to get into it. So at first I just stood out there for a while, and once I noticed my ankles starting to turn red, it's like numbing. This is so cold. But then I just splashed myself down into the rapids and quickly rolled to get my whole body wet. Now I feel good. It's actually refreshing once you get into it. It's like a ice challenge. This is super cold water. But now that I'm sudsed up, I gotta roll in that a few times, scrub out my hair. But I'm only gonna be in there like 15 seconds. I'm gonna get it off real fast. This is freezing. But the sun feels nice on my back. Then we'll go check out those beavers. This water is extremely cold, but you get used to it pretty fast. So I just rolled in there again. And once I'm in there, I just sat in there for a minute and just threw it up all over myself. But when I was getting it out of my hair, splashing up on my hair, you can see my face is red. I'm freezing. It was refreshing, but it also felt like I've got a literal brain freeze. It hurt like a brain freeze for a good 10 seconds, maybe a little longer.
Trying to have a brain freeze now.
You're starting to? Yeah, some people say this is refreshing. Some people say it's good for you. It's good for your pores, going into freezing cold water. Other people say this is how you get pneumonia. But I've done this my whole life and never had any issues. Back when I didn't have water in my house, I used the river behind my house until it started freezing up. And that actually made me never want to go swimming in that river again. I haven't swam in the river near my house in years. I think that's probably why. Had enough of it. I always see these bugs. It's just a shell. But I actually saw one alive, and I don't think it's here anymore. Well, good thing I came back down here. See all these rocks here? I almost slipped really, really bad coming back down here. Wasn't there, but good thing I went back down. Soap was down there. I'm gonna throw some little twigs on here and not stand in the smoke. Get it hot fast again. Still wet. Got the fire going nice again. Nice way to dry off. I got tired of cutting, so I'm gonna burn them all in half. All right, everyone, it's burger time. All right, this is really, really hot. All right, that's pre-cooked bacon. We're just heating it up. Let's see how they look underneath. Oop. That's what I get. I guess I'm gonna be healthy and only have one today. Hey, I guess I'm gonna be healthy and only have one today because I dropped one. Hopefully that's good. That was a really hot fire too. I was tripping over the heat. I probably should have waited a little bit longer for it to cool down because I could barely even reach onto that thing. It's burning my fingers just getting those off. But zoom in, they still do look pretty delicious. I do like a little char on them. Even the one I dropped, I can't let that go to waste. We're so far out, we're not gonna hit a supermarket for days. Make the food last. All right, it's a few hours later after the guy's done mowing. He said over here he made this trail for people can walk, but he ran into an area where the beavers flooded it out or built a dam, something like that. He also said he saw a fairly large grizzly bear out here. And he also said in the past few days he's seen a wolf. So that'd be cool to see. Someone's been in here cutting branches, also marking some sort of boundary. Pretty nice. All the moss in there. But this trail was not here at the beginning of the day. He brought the brush hog in, and it's kind of cool. It's gonna bring us into the burnt area. Because most of this video I'm showing just a campground, which I describe as a little oasis. Everything around this campground, and at the beginning of the video, that tiny little town that is basically just for the oil company and has that little shop. Everything's burnt except this tiny little area. And the burntness, it's up all the mountains. You could drive an hour, everything's burnt. Okay, here's where he turned around. Not quite sure where this would have continued, but he said it was flooded out by beavers. I definitely see the water. I'm not sure if he got out with a saw or if his machine cut this. He described the machine as being able to cut some pretty big things. Ooh, I think this used to be a very secluded campsite. Look at this, there's a camp ring. Now that he opened it up, bet you someone's gonna come down here camping. Yeah, I can see the grade actually ends here. You can see where the road was. There's this elevated platform here. This looks like it was always a dead end. See, the elevated spot, then the road coming into it. But it is super, super dead. But the bottom of all these burnt trees, the ones that aren't evergreen are mostly sprouting back. This was probably back in the spring when this all occurred. Just based on the growth, or very late last year. Everything's dead. I kind of want to walk that other trail, that loop I was showing earlier. Can hear the slime. Nature will take it back fast. Looking for a frog. Ooh, look at that.
A seesaw.
Yeah, it is a perfect seesaw. Let me find the perfect balancing point where you can lift me on there. I know I can't be on the end, but somewhere in the middle here. Probably still too far, right? All right, let's see. Yep. Go backwards a little bit more. A little bit more till we balance our weight. Almost. Yeah. Just about. We got to come back out here with the tripod. Or actually, I can probably get it to fit in a burnt tree. Wait a minute, I'm going to put you down. Oh, the camera fell, but it got enough. It got enough of it. Enough of that. I want to explore out here a little bit in the swamp, see if we can find any frogs or anything. Look at this. Look how dry that is down in the moss. Feels like we're walking through fiberglass. Got some flowers, and there's movement in this. I wonder where that bear is the guy saw right here. Be cool to see him from a distance. Yeah, everything's burnt. But I've seen areas like this. They'll pop back a decade or two. You won't even notice this anymore. Most of these trees are gonna rot, fall over. It's too early to see any seedlings from the pines. Or there's actually no pine here. This is all fir and spruce. But there are pine cones absolutely everywhere. There was pine cones up in all these. The fire was just down by the ground. It killed them all by girdling the trunks. And now they're drying out, dropping all their pine cones into this super fertile burnt soil. And I was describing earlier, we also got these guys to help with the rehabilitation of the forest. That's not the Asian longhorn beetle. It looks very similar. This is the Sawyer beetle that's native. It only drills holes in trees that are dead. It'll lay its eggs. It'll have a bunch of larvae in there hollowing out the tree, making it weak. That'll help knock all these dead ones down. You see over there, when the firefighters came through, they were knocking down all the flaming ones. It's coming back good for only about a year. Might only be a couple months of growth if it was this spring. That's what it looks like. If we came back here in a few years, all these mountains are going to be green again. You're just going to see skeletons sticking out of all the brand new lush growth. Here's a pretty old bottle. It somehow managed to survive the fire without shattering. I honestly really don't see where that guy would have continued through. Up here, the high ground doesn't seem too swampy. I'm not exactly sure what he was trying to connect out here, but this looks like it was always a dead-end camping spot. But hopefully he tries to open that closed road. That'd be a really cool extra loop, but there's just not enough guests out here. All the provincial parks down in southern BC are overflowing. You can't find a spot But I think that'll change in a few weeks. Tourist season will be over the end of August. And that's when we decide we'll go back down there and explore like Vancouver Island and a bunch of cool stuff. All right, I want to confirm my theory that this path I was showing earlier connects that abandoned loop. I hope they reopen that thing because it's already a nice road. I got a little ash on us, so I'm gonna wash it off here. And we got boots so we can go across this underwater bridge. This looks so clean. This looks like aquarium plants. Doesn't that look cool? It's so cool. It looks like the fake plants you buy at the store. Okay, are these slippery? So far, no. These rocks are moving, so watch it. This could very well be the road. This is clearly graded at one point, whether it was logging or it's that circle we see. But the circle we see seems to end behind that only campsite on this side of the road. And this is a wide open spot. So I would think this is it. It's a little squishy, but we got boots. This does look man-made, but this wouldn't be the road. But then again, there's a bunch of these pink ribbons. What are they planning? I'm gonna try walking on the other spot. If nothing, we'll go back, I guess. This part of the woods is beautiful. It's survived. It's got tons and tons of, I guess, spruce cones, because they're not pine. This kind of looks like a clearing. I guess it's not followable from this side, so I guess I'll attempt it from the other side and see how far I get. Now these trees all survived the sweeping fire. The trees are supposed to survive it. Sometimes the fires are just so big. This does look like a road to me. This is elevated from the swamp there and it's flat. Look at all that burnt in there. I'd love to come back here someday in the future and see how this grows back. You see a bear paw?
Oh, does that look like a bear paw?
Nope, that's me.
Oh.
Be cool to see the bear out here. Kind of want to get a glimpse of that bear the guy was talking about, but not get too close. Haven't seen any bear tracks. I see a bunch of either moose or elk, some kind of tracks like that. Too big to be a deer. This is all kind of open like a meadow. We're gonna camp in one of these spots again tomorrow. It'll be nice. All right, everyone. We're gonna try this from the other side because I'm very curious if this was campsites or whatnot. But it appears like, even though the satellite image shows a clear circle right here, that it might not go all the way through. But then again, see those pink ribbons? They're marking stuff to reopen it. Or maybe the new loop is going to go through where you saw, where I thought they were maybe surveying. But that was definitely used to be a campsite at one point. Okay, we'll see what's been walking here. Is this human? Animals? Those look like hooves. And here we are, into the burnt. Makes it more open. You can see a lot better, but this will quickly grow in again. I love going down abandoned roads like this, especially in unfamiliar areas. I'm gonna try to make this connect to where we just were. Maybe make more sense of this. Could have been just an old logging road. See, this is an elevated platform, straight. This has a big dip. This wasn't for driving. But that loop looks so defined. Is this the loop I'm still on? It's flat. It was once graded for vehicles. I see more pink ribbon over there, but that's going through that marsh. I'm just gonna follow the best trail. I'm not gonna get lost. Just make sure the sun stays on that side and I'm going the right way. This is definitely some sort of trail. Look at that. It's really ashy over there. Ah. Yeah, I think this is what we were seeing from overhead. Not as flat as I thought. Probably just logging. Considering, look at these trees. Look how big they are. Look how thick they are. Back here, everything that burned is small. So it probably was just logging. Some of these probably weren't even maintained for trucks. Maybe just the log skid that pulled them out of here. And here's that little stream again that we had just had to walk over. Pretty nice. I would love to have something like this trickling through my yard, really slow and steady. Frogs would love that. Beautiful mossy hill. But let's see, where do these pink ribbons lead? We're gonna follow them because I think it's gonna go right back to that water crossing. What do you guys think? Is this the boundary of the campground against the logging company? Because look, the trees are so much bigger on this side. The trees on this side also weren't affected by the fire. The big mature trees, I guess, put up with it a lot better than all this stuff back here that the logging company may or may not have replanted. See some hoof marks right here. We're crossing this stream again. Maybe there's multiple ones that connect. I'm gonna follow these pink ribbons. See where it leads us. This also looks like it could be the road. Let's try to figure this out. I'm now going backwards a bit. Okay. This was the road. This is elevated, looks nicely maintained. And that's where we were just walking, right there. So there's two swampy streams that come together. Here's some more cut down ones that the firefighters got. It's wrapped in that tape that says danger, and they cut it down after this burned. So yeah, this loop goes around, but it's got a bunch of slices in it to allow water to go through, or maybe at the time to prevent vehicles from going through. I'm gonna take the shortcut. That is, if I can find a suitable path across the swamp. And yeah, the clearing right there goes right to someone's camper. So this clearing here is definitely what I was seeing. Not any of this, because it lines up perfectly with that campsite. And this is actually this moss. I'm walking through this pretty good. Not really sinking, but you see it gets wetter right here. I don't want to flood the boots. I'm so close to that side. But up here, it'll be firmer where these trees are. Love walking through marshiness like this. It's marshy, but it doesn't feel like it's floating. You don't want to walk on floating bogs, floating islands. because who knows how deep the mud or water beneath it could be if you were to fall through it. This could have been a road used during the winter. This could have been an ice road for the logging company. Logging companies love to log in the winter when all these places are frozen solid. Trucks and equipment don't get stuck, so this is part of the circle, definitely, that we were seeing overhead. Yep, I can make out that circle. My conclusion is it was logging. And look at this, there's an animal trail right here. So that's where I walked in. But down below, this is the loop. Looks a little different in person from the map. Probably because it burned. Like this grassy area is the map, what you were seeing, that defined road. Over there, nothing's burnt on the map, so you wouldn't have seen any of those, what were maybe roads. They look like they're graded and maintained. But here, some sort of animal walks here a lot. And this was definitely a road too. Look at this. Maybe this is the road the guy was trying to reopen with his machine. Because I did see marks like this that looked like a bulldozer went through that side. So we're following two different roads that may have nothing to do with each other. This looks like a dozer went through here, pushing this. But then it kind of fizzles out. Very interesting. I'm gonna follow this now, because this is probably gonna go back to where the seesaw is. If I keep going straight, you see areas like this, you can tell a stump just burned completely down. It must have been dead prior to the fire to be able to do that. Super burnt area. Also very squishy. And there you can tell was flooded for a while. That's why the grass didn't start growing. But you see a very defined trail here of animals. See this big track? Now that could be a moose. That's big enough to be a moose, that one. Moose trail. Definitely big enough to be a moose. That right there, I think, would be the grizzly bear. It's pretty fresh. Moose, grizzly bear, maybe wolf. We got a mix of creatures here. And it was heading that way, the bear. Probably away from that guy's loud machine where he was working. Let's see if this trail here connects. Another tree they cut down. The firefighters are out here knocking these down. This one was done by an axe. Okay, got around that muddy area. Back to the animal trail. Grizzly, moose, and wolf. Let's keep following it. I see pink ribbon again. Yep, I think we're coming right through to where that guy was working. Oh, another intersecting animal trail / human. Look at this one. This was super dead. Let's keep going. Did they notch some of these hoping the wind was gonna take it? Look at this dead one. Oh, nope, never mind. It was an optical illusion. See, I was looking at it like this. See, from a distance, it looks like it was notched and not cut. I thought they left a dangerous stander there. Nope, that's a different tree in the background. Okay. I gotta find my way back now. So, pink boundary. What do you think? Were firefighters actively out here preventing it from entering the campground? These markers were put up after the fire. And yeah, look right here. We are right back to where that guy was working with the skid steer. I didn't find what I thought I was gonna find out here, but I found a bunch of cool roots. I'll have to walk this again in the morning before we head on out of here. That was kind of fun. Definitely. Yep, here we are. So it is confirmed, a grizzly bear was walking away from that area, along with some other cool tracks. That was a cool trail. Also be a cool place to just walk out there and tent. Fire's getting cool. That should cool down even more in the next couple of hours. Then we'll dump a bucket over it and we'll head on out in the morning. I'm gonna end the video here. We're not actually tenting out, we're just camping in the vehicle tonight. It's just a cleanup day, barbecue day, slow day, day we're not moving around or really doing anything, more of a break day. Thanks for watching, everyone, and have a great day.